all goes. The It's going to be an exciting weekend for college football. I will say that. So it's going to be an exciting week for college football. And, so there's going to be a lot of bowl games this week. If you guys want to take a look, I wrote preview pieces on the AAC and SEC championship games on iRock Media. Head over there, type in wblzmedia.com, head over there and read my articles over there. Let me go ahead, guys, and get into the National Hockey League as I'm watching the Lightning game, and the Minnesota Wild are currently up 4-3 after 2 periods. Again, guys, if you do not know, I also have a second show called Tampa Talk. It's on Mondays. This upcoming Monday, I will not be here. I'll be at the hockey game to see them play the New York Islanders. So that show will be moved to Tuesday next week, the 10th. But I like that show. Had a lot of spark this past week. A lot of people tuned in. That's just, guys, just strictly about Tampa sports. I also wrote an article recently about if the Bucs should hang on to Jameis Winston. That's on NGSE Sports, the guys that do my podcast. Head over to that website. That article should be up probably Saturday morning. So check that out there. But let's go ahead, guys, and get into a little bit of the NHL. Of course, if you don't know the whole story with Akeem Aliu, he is the former NHL player that exposed former Calgary Flames head coach Bill Peters for his previous use of racial slurs. He met with the NHL on Tuesday to discuss sports cultural problems. I first of all want to start by just thanking everyone for their support. He said, obviously it means a lot to me. It's been a tough week, but it's made some great discussion with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly. They could not have been kinder and receptive to the message that we're trying to bring. I think we're just some big changes coming and is long overdue, and I'm excited to see it come to fruition. Bettman and Daly also released their own statement after meeting with Aliu. After the meeting, more details slowly leaked out about a clearer picture of what exactly the NHL plans are to combat the problem within their sport. Aliu mentioned big changes coming. What could that be among the discussion in today's meetings? It could be comprehensive harassment and discrimination policy, whistleblower and rehabilitation protection for players, encouraging more diversity and inclusion, breaking for culture of silence. It's just a few of the topics, guys, that they were talking about. Aliu may be in attendance for the NHL Board of Governors meetings that starts next week in California. Aliu blowing the whistle on Peters' racism led to Peters' eventual resignation, which was the first of few employment changes in the hockey world after the spotlight was cast upon sports critical issues. That was part of it, guys. And one of those was, and this has nothing to do with that, guys. This is, let me go ahead and kind of stay on this topic here. There's a bunch of articles back here about that, and I'll get to some other news. Ex-NHL coach under fire for alleged treatment of players with the Red Wings. Now, this has to do with recently fired head coach Mike Babcock. He was fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you guys have not heard, this took place while he was coaching the Detroit Red Wings. This was verbally assaulting winger Johan Franzen. Stanley Cup champion Chris Chelios made the accusation on Barstool Sports podcast Spittin' Chicklets. Chelios recalled Babcock verbally assaulting Franzen during the playoffs. Some of the things Babcock said to Franzen on the bench, I don't know what he said to him behind closed doors, one-on-one, but it was blatantly verbally assaulted him during the game on the bench. Chelios said on his podcast. Franzen and Chelios were teammates on the Red Wings from 2005 to 2009. Franzen, who has not played in the NHL game since 2015 due to a post-concussion syndrome, as that was confirmed. I get shivers when I think about it, he said. The incident occurred against Nashville in the playoffs. It was coarse, nasty, and shocking. The but that was just one of the 100 things he did, the tip of the iceberg. Bronson recalled being terrified of going on the ice after the first time Babcock berated him. He's a terrible person. The worst I've ever met, Bronson said. He's a bully who was attacking people. It could have been clearer at the arena in Detroit or anybody. He could lay into people without any reason. Bronson and Chelios' account of Babcock come more than a week after Maple Leaf star Mitch Marner confirmed a story that Babcock made him rank players and share the list of his teammates during the 2016-2017 season. So that's interesting, guys, to say that. And another one has come out, guys. Sean Avery says former Kings head coach Mark Crawford kicked him during a game. So, guys, here we are now with we're going to whistle blow everybody. We're going to come out and say all of this abuse was going on in the NHL. Sean Avery has joined the conversation with a similar story about former Kings coach Mark Crawford. Avery, who retired after the 2011-12 season, told Larry Brooks of the New York Post that Crawford kicked him during a game while the two were with the Kings in 2006-2007. He kicked me after a too many men on the ice call, I took, Avery said. He didn't have me serve it. We just got scored on, and he let me have it. The incident occurred on December 23rd, 2006 against Nashville. According to Brooks, the Kings were handed a too many men on the penalty in 1918 of the second period, during which J.P. Dumont scored the Predators' sixth goal in a 7-0 victory. After the goal, Avery said that Crawford came down at the end of the bench to deliver a message. You know, I said at the end of the bench, he came down and gave me an ass kick that left a mark. According to Brooks, Avery found the incident more blemishing than upsetting. At the time, he believes it wasn't the reason for his trade to the New York Rangers later that season. That's just because I squared off with him, tried to fight Mark Hardy, who was one of our assistant coaches on the ice. And now, since that has come out, guys, the Blackhawks placed Mark Crawford. He's the assistant coach now with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's been placed on leave. And so they conduct a complete review before Crawford can officially return to the team. Again, he's a assistant coach with the Blackhawks, so he's under investigation right now. So speaking of Mike Babcock, who got fired, now here's 11 potential spots. This is by Larry Fisher. So here are the 11 teams that Fisher believes Mike Babcock could be coaching in the near future, despite the allegations he did against Johan Franzen. The first, guys, is I'm not going to read all this stuff. I'm just going to go through the teams: Dallas Stars, Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks, Calgary Flames, Tampa Bay Lightning, Winnipeg Jets, Detroit Red Wings, where he coached before, the New Jersey Devils, the Minnesota Wild, and, of course, the Seattle something will have to be there as well. You did hear that the New Jersey Devils were on that list. That's because they fired their head coach, John Haynes. He was fired on Tuesday. The Devils might be the worst team in the NHL. The Devils have had a wretched start this season, currently sitting dead last in the Metropolitan at 9-13-4. Hayes was on the fifth year as his head coach of the team and coached the Devils to a 150, 159-45 record in 354 career regular season games, and led the club to a 2018 Stanley Cup playoff, their first postseason appearance in 6 years. Shiro, who's their general manager, said, "We were collectively disappointed with our performance on the ice, and believe changes were needed, starting with our head coach. I have been consistent in my desire to build something here in New Jersey." So there's that, guys, kind of the NHL in a nutshell there. Some more stories coming out about coaches abusing players. I think that this might be the tip of the iceberg in all reality, about that. But that is, that's just interesting to say the least, that they are, that we have more allegations coming out about these hockey players being abused. So let's, guys, now get to the NFL, and then I'm going to take some calls. I think my man Adam is still hanging on. I think I lost Lewis unless he came back. No, I lost Lewis. Okay. We'll start, guys, with the 49ers suspending their broadcaster for a game for calling out Lamar Jackson. They suspended broadcaster Tim Ryan for saying that Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson had an advantage in faking handoffs because of his dark skin with a dark football. Jackson rushed for over 100 yards in the Ravens' 20-17 win, many of which came after successfully faking handoffs running the ball himself. He's really good at the fake, Lamar Jackson, but when you consider his dark skin with a dark football, with a dark uniform, you couldn't see that thing, Ryan said on air. According to the Chronicle, you literally could not see when he was in and out of the mesh point, and if you're half steps slow on him in terms of your vision, forget about it. He's out of the game. Ryan got suspended for one game. I regret my choice of words in trying to describe the conditions of the game. Lamar Jackson is an MVP caliber player, and I respect him greatly. I want to sincerely apologize to him and everyone else I offended. 49ers have also reached out to the Ravens to apologize for the incident. So that was there. If you guys did not hear anything, too, we have a little bit of gambling going on. In fact, my man Adam wrote this story last week, I believe, on this show about Josh Shaw. He was either that, yes, it was Josh Shaw, he said last week. Before Shaw, the Arizona Cardinals was caught and suspended for gambling, and at least one of those bets he bet close to home. According to ESPN's David Parner, Shaw began his own team, bet on his own team in Week 10 as part of a 3-team parlay. He placed the bet on the Caesars Sportsbook in Las Vegas on November 10th. And part of the reason of the NFL suspending him, the bet was on the second halves of 3 Week 10 games, sources said, and included the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were leading the Cardinals 17-13 at halftime. The Buccaneers were a 1-point favorite for the second half. They failed to cover the second half spread, but went on to defeat the Cardinals 30-27. Shaw's bet lost, according to sources. Betting on any NHL game is not allowed if you're an NFL employee in any capacity. So that is kind of the kind of more inside information about Shaw betting on football games. Another football story, if you have not heard, Ron Rivera of the Carolina Panthers was fired on Tuesday by David Tepper and the organization. He is replaced by Perry Farrell, who is the secondaries coach, who will be filling in as well as with the help of Norv Turner. I believe this is the best decision for a long-term success for our team, Tepper said. Rivera, who was in his 9th season as Panthers coach, ends his tenure with a 76, 63-1 record, regular season record, not including a 3-4 mark in the playoffs. He led Carolina Super Bowl 50 after the 2015 season and captured 3 NFC South titles, but he never managed consecutive seasons with a winning record. He is a 2-time Coach of the Year winner. This move is not a surprise given the circumstances of what is going on currently, guys, in Carolina. Back to the Browns and Steelers game from this past week. Steelers slam Freddie Kitchens over a T-shirt. Why throw gas? This is by Ryan Godos of Fox News. Pittsburgh Steelers players slammed Cleveland Browns coach Freddie Kitchens after a team's win over their AFC North rival Sunday for a T-shirt he wore more than 2 weeks after the helmet swinging incident between Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph. I wore a T-shirt, he said. I wore a jacket with it. My daughters wanted me to wear the shirt. I'd wear it again. I put on the jacket. I covered it up. I took a picture. That was simple as that. A T-shirt didn't cause us to get 40-yard passes. We're ready to play. That's the only people need to be concerned about. We were ready to play. Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield also defended Kitchens. I don't really have a comment on that. It's just a T-shirt. I've done much worse. And then we're going to touch, guys, on Terrell Pryor, who you did not hear was stabbed. This is by Ryan Gatto, so it's also Fox News. The woman, Shayla Britston, smiled in her booking photo. You can go online and read about it. You can see her smile in her photo. She stabbed Pryor in the shoulder and chest. But he also faces, and the Lightning just tied the game up before. Simple assault. She supposedly got into a fight with him in the kitchen where Surgery took a knife and stab prior. As we all know, he